This Todibo story is moving quicker than a Learjet. Actually, it does involve a Learjet because he's been jetted over today and has completed the first part of his medical. That news, I think, was announced by Sky Sports, possibly even Dharmesh Sheth himself. It is just incredible, Gio, how quickly this story has moved from last night to today. I think we're on our 10th video today or something like that. It's gone crazy, absolutely crazy with this Todibo deal.
Yeah, and I like it because when you say it moves quickly, like what you said was key there, the story moves quickly. We're just really behind. Everybody's really behind. Last night it's back on. Well, Tim was already in Nice persuading Todibo. He'd already done the hard part before any of us knew about it. And then today, people are trying to guess when the plane's coming over and stuff. He was already in London doing his medical, and people were saying, "Oh, he's on his way now. He's on the plane now." Well, actually, he wasn't on the plane. He was off it, getting prodded and fingered by the physios involved at West Ham United. So we're just really far behind, and I absolutely love it. As a fan, this is fantastic. The club, in this modern age, it's very difficult to keep things quiet. I think the club, once again, have kept this shush as long as possible. By the time Juventus have realised what's happened, he's in London. Tim's just... Oh, he's done all right this transfer window, but he's done all right. This deal is significant. This is the most impressive one for me. This one in Somerville are the two that have impressed me a lot, just because of the way we've gone about it and the cogs that have been turned. Big well done as far as I'm concerned. If it gets done, I need to see Tim awkwardly holding a shirt with Todibo, but I'm quite confident.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's gaining quite a heroic cult status, Steidten, at the moment. If you look online with all the stuff that's going on, and rightly so. You've got to enjoy this. You've got to celebrate it. I had a message earlier on with somebody saying, you calm down and no. No. The reality check. There's so many of them as a West Ham fan. So many of them. So many reasons to be.
We will get some. Rejected. We might get beat 2-0 by Aston Villa. Bang! There's a reality check. There's some coming, right?
Yes,
but for now,
but calm down now. Nah. You're all right. I'm all right, thanks. I'm quite enjoying being excited. I'm quite enjoying refreshing the browser, if that's what it's still called. Probably a new funky name for it. But yeah, what I'm enjoying it. I think the thing for me that I am most impressed with, and this is before we've even seen anyone kick a ball. Let's make that point here. It was clearly, it's how we've done it, the professionalism of it. It's so weird how much has changed in 12 months. If you look at how screwed up that Ibrahim Osman deal was, you look how bad the Calvin Phillips deal was, the fact it was almost an obligation to apply on that as well. You look at the transition, it's not even 12 months, is it? That was in January. Is incredible. There's no doubt in my mind. Look, we might not have got our first choice striker target. Okay, no problem.
We might have.
We might have. We don't know. I'm quite sure we got our first choice wing target. I don't think it was. I think Jota Silva was waiting there in the wings, no pun intended, in case Somerville fell through. I think there were a few. I never thought we were truly. Reece Nelson would have been the real. Not the desperate one, but he might have been last on the list. I'm pretty sure we got first on the list there. But one thing I'm in no doubt about here is that our first choice defensive pairing was Kilman and it was Todibo. To get one's good. You know what? Even if you got Kilman and then you didn't quite get to Todibo, but you got Soleil or Tomori or whoever next down the list might have been, third down the list. Okay, still really good. To get both of them and at the same time deal with Wolves, who were hard to negotiate with. They didn't want to give him up easily. And then not only see off Juventus, but see off Juventus with a deal, which means we don't have to spend the money until next season, is incredible. And then you look at this left-footed central defender, you look at this right-footed central defender, both really comfortable on the ball to rebuild a defence that was needed, bearing in mind how many goals we conceded last season. I just think they've done incredibly well.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one. And what's interesting, it feels, this could be inaccurate, but my opinion is, it feels like Lopetegui's first choice and Tim Steidten's first choice as well. It feels like they've almost got one each, and it's up to Lopetegui to now go make this partnership work. But given how Tim does his business and how Tim identifies players using his colleagues, It's not necessarily, I think he's a good player, let's bid for him, which I think we've maybe been guilty of in the past at West Ham. And you look at the players you're going after, thinking, but how's that going to work for us, kind of thing. Arguably, listen, I wanted Calvin Phillips. I think Calvin Phillips was a good signing for us when we made him. I was excited to see Calvin.
Yeah,
I was wrong, right? I was wrong. However, when you look back at it with the benefit of hindsight, think, well, why did we go after a player like that as well? You do just think, how was it ever going to fit in with the way he plays at Man City and the way we played at West Ham? And you can apply that perhaps more to Danny Ings. We signed Danny Ings, but we didn't change the way we played. So what was the point? Why did we buy that type of striker if we weren't going to accommodate him? So it was almost a bit like we were buying players because we thought they were good players rather than actually they'd fit in with how we play. And Tim Steidten isn't really somebody that you would call like, oh, that's a good player, let's buy him, like Danny Ings. He's data, he's numbers, he's analytics. So it's like, what do you want to do? You want your centre-back to play long balls out to the wingers, right? Okay, we can find that metric, we can measure that through data. Let's identify somebody. What you want, a quicker centre? Yeah, we can find that guy as well. It's almost like coming up with a formula to some extent, saying these are the things, this is what we want in a centre-back. What's the computer going to spit out? Well, there you go. It's Todibo. Brilliant. Right, let's go get him. I would assume, and I think this is a fair assumption, that we'd be identifying players to fit in with the way Lopetegui is going to play football. If not, anything else is just a little bit silly. And of course, there's the whole eye test and go scout them in person element to it as well. But to identify the player, Maximilian Hans is at the club for a reason. And he does not leave the office to go look at players. He looks at players in the office because it can. And I'd imagine this is how Todibo has been identified. And I'm hoping that, like you said, we've just brought a partnership rather than two individual centre-backs. It's up to Lopetegui now to go make this work. But it's bloody exciting. I like it.
It is exciting. And there's another contrast. Don't just contrast it with last season. I was just discussing this with Nick. We just recorded a Patreon podcast with Nick where we were sort of reacting to this stuff an hour or so ago. And if you want to go and see that, by the way, check it out. Links in the description below, patreon.com/Hammers Chat. 7-day free trial. Go and check it out. You can watch backdated stuff as well. So go and feast, gorge yourself on that stuff. But I was just saying to Nick on that one, we shouldn't have ever been in this situation where we needed to restructure this defence. £80 million was spent on Kurt Zouma, was spent on Nathan Gerd, and was spent on Konstantinos Mavropanos. The oldest of those is Zouma. He's 29. I know he looks 50, but he's 29. He should be in his prime. It's actually scandalous that we've spent £80 million on three central defenders, all from their mid-20s to less than 30. And we have now got to reconstruct the whole central defence. It should never happen. It's a ridiculous waste of money. A ridiculous waste of money. And I think that to do that and to actually look and think, well, do you know what? We've actually got I think Mavropanos will be used, don't get me wrong. And I think there's probably some resale value on Nathan Gerd, nowhere near the 30 million. But to actually, for you to look at that, it should have been the one area of the squad, bearing in mind how much we spent, that shouldn't need addressing. We should be, okay, well, we've spent on that in recent years. Let's go and have a little spend somewhere else. But the fact that they've looked at it, well, actually, not only do we have to replace one of the centre-backs, we've got to do both, is incredible. And it should have been unnecessary, but it was necessary. Record number of goals conceded last season. But the fact that the stark contrast between how those transfers were done and how this is done, again, is just another feather in the cap, really.
Yeah, whilst I agree, the one thing I will say is when we're going to switch from one manager to another and have different styles of play, the requirement from your centre-backs is going to change as well. And it's more of an emphasis on how good are you in possession of the ball, what's your passing like, are you comfortable being under pressure from attacking players? And I think it's fair to say, Kurt Zouma, the answer is no. So he needed to be moved on. Yes, he was broken, but even if you pretend Kurt Zouma wasn't broken, he was actually fine. There's still a strong argument that he would need to be moved on because he wouldn't be able to play the way that Lopetegui perhaps is going to play. So I think the need to rebuild that area is down, as much of it is maybe poor performances, I think a lot of it is also down to the new style of play that we're switching to as well. So I think it's a little bit of that. But I'm hoping that with Steidten now overseeing the transfer window, that say Lopetegui was to leave next summer for whatever reason, hopefully he doesn't. But just in case he does, the next guy along can use Kilman and Todibo, and actually the next guy just replaces Lopetegui rather than comes in and goes, right, okay, rip everything up, start again. We're going to have to spend loads of money to rebuild the squad. I'm hoping now this is, a long-term thing. Tim Steidten said it's a 5-year project. I feel like he's hurried that up a little bit. I feel like we're maybe doing 2 or 3 years in one go.
Yeah.
But he's always going to have that in mind, really. Can the next guy use Todibo as much as Lopetegui can? Well, the answer has to be yes. And that's a problem where when Lopetegui departs one way or another, you get the next guy and it can use the squad you've currently got. But I think because of the way we played under David Moyes and we wanted to change style, there was always going to be a requirement to change the personnel at the club. Thomas Souček's a prime example. Fantastic under David Moyes. Will he work under Lopetegui? We're not too sure. We're certainly convinced he probably won't. Doesn't make him a bad player. He just needs replaced because we've changed style. If we got in another David Moyes type manager, Souček would be perfect. Like, keep him here. He's going to get us goals. He's what we need. Change style. You're going to have to change players.
Yeah, absolutely. There you have it. I mean, absolutely brilliant, buzzing news. I'm sure there'll be.
I've got two things.
Go on.
One, I think we were careful with what we wished for. And two, I've got a bit of a joke. One of my friends, he's having a court battle with his ex to see the kids, right? And he said today, I'd love it if Tim Steidten could negotiate with my ex so he can get to see the kids.
He wouldn't even know about it. They'd just be flown in.
Yes. So, I love all the jokes and the memes coming off the back of Tim Steiden's progress in the transfer window. I think it's fantastic. Most people, not everybody, but most people are happy. They're having fun. Yeah. They're enjoying this. People in the comments are saying, can't wait for the Champions League song at the London Stadium. I absolutely love it. Just it's a good time to be a West Ham fan, and if you can't enjoy this transfer window, I'm not sure it's going to get much better. Maybe with Obi Wan-Bissaka, but apart from that, I think this is as good as it maybe gets.
One more cherry on the cake. Whoever the right back might be, that will be the cherry on the cake. Sorry, we were going to finish. I quite enjoy him online, the other teams' fans' assessment of West Ham's transfer. They're listing out. We don't have to list them. Everyone else is doing it for us. You got Brighton fans going, "Hold on, what's going on here?" And Wolves fans and that sort of thing. And
they're worried.
They are.
There's a lot of mutual. Some of my friends who don't support West Ham are worried. They're messaging me, going, "What on earth is going on at your club? Oh, you must be challenging." They're now putting the pressure on us because the neutrals are now saying, "Well, you got to be qualifying for European football, that squad." Then they are now trying to raise the expectations of West Ham, not us. They're doing it to put the pressure on us a little bit, saying, "Well, you have to get European football with that squad." Now, that might be a fair argument, but the reaction of the neutrals has been just as amusing as the fun from the West Ham fans.
Oh, listen, make no mistake about it. Be careful what you wish for, Brigade. Are waiting for us to fail now to show and demonstrate that they're quiet now. But give it 2 or 3 defeats, and they'll be raising their head up again. But that's a video for another day. Gio, cheers, mate. I'll catch you later.
Ta-da.